It's very difficult to win for the first time, and for these players is the first time, and for the club is the first time.
In 2010, Real Madrid signed the most feared coach in world football. A man who had just delivered a treble with Inter Milan. A man who walked into the Bernabeu and told Barcelona, and the world, that he was going to dethrone them. 16 years later, Real Madrid have gone back to that same well. Same man, same job, same expectations. But here's the question nobody in Madrid wants to ask out loud. Is this the Mourinho who conquered Europe, or the Mourinho who's been getting sacked and shuffled between mid-table jobs for the last decade?
When you play the way you play, when you create what you create.
I think the second one just walked through the door. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why Jose Mourinho is set up to fail at Real Madrid. The ghost of 2012.
There is something that I used to call football heritage.
Let's start with why this move even makes sense on paper, because it does. Florentino Perez isn't a sentimental man. He's a businessman who buys trophies. So when he looked at a squad that just went back-to-back without a major trophy, and he needed someone who could restore order and win now, his mind drifted back to 2012. That season, Mourinho did something almost nobody else has done in the last 15 years. He broke Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. Not just beat them once. He took a Madrid side that had been steamrolled for 2 straight years and turned them into a 100-point machine that ended Barca's stranglehold on La Liga. He won the title, the Copa del Rey, the Super Cup. He was the man who solved an unsolvable problem. That memory is exactly why Perez brought him back. The logic is simple. He did it once. He can do it again. But that logic has a hole in it. And the hole is, what year is it actually? The magic has been missing 4 years.
But Manchester United today, Mourinho, be very interested to see where he goes now with this one, because he seems to have lost the players.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. That 2012 title wasn't the start of a golden run for Mourinho. It was closer to the end of one. Since he left Madrid in 2013, let's look at what has actually happened. At Chelsea, round 2, he won a Premier League title in his first full season. Genuinely impressive. And then imploded so badly the following year that he was sacked by Christmas, with the players reportedly turning on him. At Manchester United, he won some cups, sure, but the football was some of the most joyless, defensive, low-block United football fans had seen in years, and he was gone before his 3rd season finished.
And whenever the manager is next to him, he doesn't play better, he plays worse. Guardiola is there stitching information in, Mourinho is there posturing.
At Tottenham, he lasted 17 months and left without a single trophy, sacked days before a cup final. At Roma, there was one nice run to a Europa Conference League title, which is a genuinely good achievement, but the bigger picture was 2 mid-table Serie A finishes and a sacking midway through his 3rd season, with the club moving on to a former player as his replacement. Then Fenerbahce. Big project, big ambitions, a real chance to finally win the Turkish title. And he left after 1 season without it, following a Champions League playoff exit. Then Benfica, back in his home country, working with a club he called more special to him than any other. Less than a year later, he's already gone off to Madrid. Do you see the pattern? It isn't that Mourinho has become a bad coach. It's that the peak version of Mourinho, the one who reinvents a team's identity and terrifies opponents before a ball is kicked, hasn't shown up in over a decade. What's shown up instead is a coach who gets a short-term bounce, wins a cup here and there, and then the cracks appear. The problem of the transfer window.
Yeah, this is about Vinicius Jr. and Sky Sports News understands that as it stands, he looks set to stay at Real Madrid.
Now let's talk about the squad Mourinho is actually building, because this is where the alarm bells really start ringing for me. Unlike most of his predecessors, Mourinho has been given real control over recruitment this summer. He is sat in the room with Jose Angel Sanchez and Jorge Mendes, personally identifying targets. And when you look at the profile of who's actually walked through the door, Marc Cucurella, Denzel Dumfries, Ibrahima Konate, Bernardo Silva, you notice something. These aren't the generational, era-defining talents Real Madrid usually buy. But they are Mourinho's players. Then compare this dressing room to the one Mourinho inherited back in 2010. That squad had superstars, sure, but it was still relatively young and hungry, built around players who owed their status at the club to Mourinho's project. This one is different. There is simply more ego in the room than he had to manage the first time around. But I believe managing ego is Mourinho's thing. However, Ego without a matching level of generational talent is the worst combination possible for him. Because on pure ability, this group doesn't have the same amount of era-defining, world-class quality that carried his 2012 title win. Mourinho is trying to recreate 2012 with a squad that has more attitude and less brilliance than the one that actually did it.
Real Madrid are in a bit of a sticky situation because Vinicius Junior has only got 1 year left on his contract. So in 6 months from now, he could sign a pre-contract.
On top of that, the modern Real Madrid dressing room is still full of generational attacking talent raised on Ancelotti's freedom. The kind of players who need the ball and space to be dangerous. Mourinho's calling card has always been control, low blocks, compact shape, a willingness to grind out 1-0s. Now bolt onto that a dressing room stuffed with even more strong-willed, medal-laden pros who didn't come to Madrid to sit and defend. That's a lot of egos to manage, and a lot of squad depth to rotate, for a coach whose recent career is defined by exactly this kind of conflict boiling over by year 2. And that's really the pattern worth remembering. His last few jobs show a shelf life of about 12 to 18 months before things sour. Real Madrid have handed him a 3-year deal and, by the look of this transfer window, a squad that's only going to get harder to manage as it grows. What if he succeeds? Now, to be fair, there's a version of this that goes right. Reports already suggest Mourinho has more control over transfers at Madrid than most of his predecessors got, including Ancelotti. If he's shaping the squad in his own image rather than inheriting someone else's, that removes one of his classic excuses. And Mourinho, whatever else you say about him, is still one of the most tactically experienced coaches alive. He knows how to set a team up to win a knockout match better than almost anyone in the sport. It's also true that Real Madrid, even in a down cycle, has more individual talent than any club he's managed since his first spell there. If he can get even 80% of peak Mourinho tactical discipline out of this squad, that might still be enough to win a trophy or two in year 1, simply because the players are that good. But winning a trophy in year 1 and succeeding at Real Madrid are not the same thing. Real Madrid's bar isn't a domestic cup. It's sustained control of La Liga and real Champions League contention, year after year. And that's exactly the kind of long-term project Mourinho hasn't delivered anywhere in over a decade.